Yeah. Oh goodness. Yeah. Down. You here for long?
I think I leave on Saturday. You've been here for ages, haven't you?
I was here for a couple of days.
Okay. You've been enjoying the films?
I haven't seen any.
Never do when you're in Cannes.
No, don't get around to it.
Well, no, not when you're, selling your own, and you never see anybody's. It's very frustrating.
It's the premiere tonight, isn't it?
Yes.
Do you have any apprehension before you do sort of big events? How do you feel about the ahead of tonight's event?
Well, God, I mean, it's frightening and exciting at the same time. It's a very vulnerable situation to be in because you want everything and yet you don't want it. So you become very childish.
What do you mean you don't want it?
Well, it's like...
I always have to ask him lots of questions. What do you mean, Nicolas?
I mean, like all great punk rock, you want everyone to absolutely annihilate you. At the same time, you want them to admire and love you and praise you until the end of the world.
Oh, I really enjoyed the film. I thought it was great. It was really interesting, and it was kind of a ride, really. What did you set out to do? Because it's obviously not necessarily a commercial film as such. It has its own sort of feel to it. What was the starting point for you?
Well, I mean, commercial, not commercial, it's hard. Those definitions nowadays don't even apply because, the previous film I did, Drive, I was labeled as a disaster before it came out, so it's hard to predict the futures of cinema because of the revolution of distribution. But that aside, I wanted to do a film about a man who believes he's God versus a man who is searching for a religion to believe in, and to spice it up, I put in a mother character. And then it became a mother and son story, and then it kind of just went on from there.
Does it sort of evolve as you're making it? What's the process for you?
Well, all the films I make are very much part of evolving, from the idea to the script to the shooting and post-production. I like the sense of uncertainty. I believe that film is more interesting if you're asked what it's not, and it will reveal itself along the way. I shoot my films in chronologically order because of that, so it's a constant new day. At the same time, you know what you're heading towards, in a way. So those things are very exciting.
Are you kind of sort of satisfying, for example, it's got some great music in it, so it's also got some great shots and some really good fun dialogue and whatnot. Are you kind of self-satisfying, if that makes sense?
Well, in the end, you can only make films for the audience of one, which is yourself. Because every time you try to guess everybody else's opinions, it's less fun, but also you can never do that. What's the point of it? Art is it's very individualism. It's an expression, and hopefully people will go with you. At the same time, filmmaking is very much a teamwork. So there are other creative partners within your view that come with you. And that's what makes it interesting, because it never ends up the way you imagine it. It always changes. But you just have to go with that, And so when you ask, well, what do you expect? You expect the thing because at one stage you want to do something that penetrates, that affects people, that makes them react, which is very frightening because people can react in many different ways, positive, negative, but that's one part of you. The second part of you wants the admiration, the love, you want the worship. But at the same time, you also want to make people react, and you're trying to find that balance, and it's just impossible.
Well, I think you did a good job, definitely. Kristin, for you, I almost found you unrecognisable in this. Can you talk to me a bit about your character and what it was about her that attracted you?
Well, to begin with, it wasn't so much the character that attracted me to the project, but working with Nicolas, because I'd seen Bronson, and I'm really not into violence. I'm the kind of person who hides when blood happens. But I was really affected by Bronson, the movie that he made. And so when I was asked, would I read the script? It's by this guy. It was so out of left field. It was such an odd idea that I immediately read it and enjoyed the story a lot, and thought, but why does he want me to do this? There are so many other people who do this, who are far more obvious choices. And then we just sort of got talking about it, and so it seemed like a good idea. And I mean, I enjoyed his way of talking about this woman and these sons that she has, and I just thought it would be fun. So that's why I did it. And how do I talk about her? I mean, she's just evil personified. She's every man's worst nightmare.
Or dream.
Or not, or dream. Depends which sort of man you are.
Yeah, I guess so. Like Drive, the dialogue is stripped down in the film, and a lot of it is it's about the shot of the mood and whatnot. How is that as a director and as an actress to actually your character probably has the most dialogue?
I'm an absolute chatterbox in this film. I hadn't realised quite how prominent she was.
You talk all the time. You can't even shut up.
Motor mouth.
Well, in a way, when you take away dialogue, directing becomes in a way much more crucial, because most of the time nowadays in storytelling is very much rely on dialogue, people explaining or setting up explanations. Once you can't have that, suddenly you have to tell the story in movement, camera angle, lighting, music, sound, atmosphere, and you have to say the same thing as you would say on words. So it becomes an extremely exciting and challenging way, because you take away the most obvious tool that we always rely on, which is the spoken word, information. And I like that. I mean, to me, just what I do, it's like it becomes very much it becomes great pleasure in the fear of how it's going to work out.
Do you like to challenge yourself? Is that what it kind of boils down to?
Well, I think it's vital. It's very easy to do something that I always say the chief enemy of creativity is good taste and being safe.
Yeah.
Because those two things, we all want comfort. And once we find a formula that works, it's very easy for us to follow that habit, because we want to be appreciated for what we do, of course. But it's also the most frightening thing and dangerous thing, because how else can we ever move on if we don't force ourselves to be in situation? And with KST here, I remember one of the things she said to me says, I can only do this if I'm going to do all the way. And I mean full transformation. And well, baby, you're speaking to the choir here.
And there's, without giving too much away, there's elements of violence in the film. Well, how is that to film? And does that create a particular tone on set?
No, because once you have anything with physical or mental violence is more difficult to deal with on set, because it's more frightening. Physical violence is all about techniques. It's like you have a coordinator, you try, you rehearse, you laugh when it goes wrong, you try it again. That's just mechanics. The psychological violence, the scenes about incest and devouring your children and stuff like that, they're actually much more difficult to do.
The three films that I've seen of yours do have a particular tone, even though they're obviously different films. Who would you say have been some of your cinematic influences?
Oh God, so many. They come and go. I think I was thinking the other day, if I were more of a movie that I could say, oh God, that was like on Drive, it was clearly Scorpio Rising. That was always in my system. the Kenneth Anger movie, which is a short film. And then I realized the other day that on Only God Forgives, a film I'd only seen like 20 years ago, which is only 5 minutes long, by Richard Kern, called The Evil Cameraman. I think in a way that a lot of the inspirations for this film came from then.
And then obviously there's a lot of time. I don't know how much time was spent out in Thailand. Were you familiar with that sort of slice of life?
Only as a tourist, but we went. I mean, I was there for 6, and Ryan and KST were 3 months roughly.
I was there for 7 weeks.
7 weeks, yeah, and Ryan was about 12 weeks, I think, or 9 weeks. So I really got immersed into the whole Thai culture, and was vital for us. And we had some very odd experiences. And you know, we'll be back.
Yeah. Good luck tonight.
You always have a picture, but at the same time, you know, you can't have that because you can never connect film with no dialogue. And I said, well, it's very cinematic because you can't trust that part of you. That's about, you know, the spoken word will always make sure that everybody understands or the point gets across. It's about something else.
It's funny, and I think I'm curious how many pages the script even was here. Your mother think of it? Did she give her?
My mother. Well, actually, I spoke to her after the press conference, and she goes to me, "How dare you?" La 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 la. But I know it lingers in my mind.
Am I still her favourite actress?
Yes, you are. That's probably, I get, well, it all came from KST had agreed to do the film.